Yo, what is up, guys? And the video you just saw there, it's from this build. It's a juicy build. It's the Bleed Whirlwind Barbarian, which I came up with on the beta. Hope you're enjoying Diablo 4 beta as much as I do. I just want to get into this build, tell you what it is, why I like it personally so much, and what I enjoy and not enjoy about Diablo 4, where I come from as a player in terms of ARPG game playing and sorts. I used to play a lot of PoE. That is basically my background. I played Diablo 2, Diablo 3 also. Diablo 1, I wasn't like the biggest fan of it. It was by the time it came out, it was revolutionary, of course. But I majorly started ARPGs when I played Diablo 2. PoE was a big step towards for me. Diablo 3, not so much. I played a little bit of Reap of Souls. It's okay, but I am missing the theory crafting part. I'm not like a professional theory crafter. I can do all those stuff, but I like to get into the nitty gritty of things. Try to figure stuff out. What doesn't work, what does not work, and that's what I've been enjoying mostly about Diablo 4. It's just trying to make things work. If we look at the character, by the way, let's start at the talent tree. Probably the best thing to do. So first row, we have to pick 2 points to get down to the good part. So I can't really decide whether I want lunging strike or I want flay. By the time I'm going with flay, just for the bleed. And also for vulnerable, you can use it for bigger mobs, bosses, etc. However, lunging strike is a free gap closer. It lunges you forward towards the enemy, and sorry. So it's basically a free gap closer whenever you like. So you can just jump from one enemy to another, start spinning, all of that sort of thing. Whenever we get down here, we want to just max out our whirlwind, definitely. And we pick enhanced whirlwind, gives you 1 fairy each time whirlwind deals damage, and increases if elite enemies. And also violent whirlwind, if you spin for more than 2 seconds, it increases your damage by 30%. So it's basically what our build relies on, is to maintain whirlwind as much as possible. And there are certain factors we can look at to make that happen. The next cluster, we pick Rallying Cry, and Rallying Cry is one of our 2 shout skills we use. We use Rallying Cry and War Cry. Rallying Cry, you would pick the second here, which gives Rallying Cry grants you unstoppable. However, I was so lucky that I dropped this chest right here, which is one of the legendary aspects that you can get through just the codex or running dungeons, which grants 2 to ranks of Iron Skin, and also it's a roll of 1 and 2, so I was lucky. Also, it grants you unstoppable and some damage reduction, and that unstoppable is what we really need, because since we are a melee class, we are like up front, we're up close with the enemies, with the mobs we're killing, and if we get like stunned, frozen, we could all just panically hit Iron Skin, and boom, you're just smooth sailing again, spinning all the way around. That is why if I did not have this chest, I would definitely throw in some points to Rallying Cry grants you unstoppable, because that feeling when you get stopped, that is just the worst feeling ever. And also, I would probably, if I had to take this, I will go even further and get the Fury regeneration. Instead, I choose some max life. Also, you can put a point in Iron Skin. If I didn't have this chest, I would also put a point in Iron Skin. It's a good defensive to have, even though the build itself is pretty goddamn defensive. Next up, with the cluster here, we pick our War Cry. We get all these for free. Enhanced War Cry grants you Berserking. We definitely want that, of course. The Berserking gives you a attack speed and movement speed, probably movement speed, which is really nice. Also, Booming Voice I picked. Why do I pick Booming Voice? Your shout skill effects duration are increased by 30%. So what does this mean? This means it extends the duration of our Rallying Cry and War Cry, of course, but what that also means is that since whenever you press Rallying Cry, the cooldown starts immediately. So the longer the effect lasts, it also extends yeah, I mean, sorry, it shortens the amount of time that you do not have the buff. And these two buffs are like bread and butter. You also like whirlwind. You want to keep those up as much as possible. So, booming voice for sure. I want to combine this later down the line with some cooldown reduction, and you want to keep these up as much as possible to keep the. It's like, because this is an off meta build. Really, it is. I haven't seen any bleed whirlwind barbarians. That's why I tried to make it. I have seen whirlwind barbarians, of course, also as an alternative, like non-meta playstyle. And I thought, can you make this work with bleeds? And we'll get into that in just a moment. But for now, of course, Run and Cry, you want the enhanced version. I picked Booming Voice because I like the quality of life. Also, I picked movement speed because I come from PoE. I like to keep the flow up. You could like remove points in the movement speed and maybe place them in pressure points where you deal extra damage to vulnerable targets, which also opens up for more stats on your items. You can pick the stat like you can pick the stat that gives you more damage to vulnerable enemies. I've chosen not to. Down the next cluster, this one is important. Your bleeding affects slow enemies by 10%. What does this mean? It means that whenever we hit an enemy, because we are using a sword, a slashing weapon, as our primary weapon, the other three are basically just stats, placeholders for legendary powers. The two-handed expertise for sword gives you 16% of direct damage you deal is inflicted as bleeding over 5 seconds. So whenever we hit an enemy, it starts bleeding, and it also becomes slowed, instantly slowed. That gives us the possibility to stack a lot of damage against crowd control enemies, slowed enemies, you name it. Because whenever we hit an enemy, at that right exact moment, it will become slowed. So that is why just 1 point, it's a 1 point wonder. You just want to have 1 point in this, so every enemy you hit becomes slowed. Also, I've chosen to put 1 point in here to get 2 points to this, because we really like crits with this build. The higher we crit, the higher damage we do per direct damage to enemies, and the higher bleed effects we apply. So 6% increased crit chance against immobilized, stunned, or slowed enemies, once again tying together with hamstring. The last cluster, we just pick Call of the Ancients because it's broken as fuck. It's like literally the best over the other two. There is nothing that comes close to Call of the Ancients. This is so good, and it's a 1 minute cooldown, and every 1 minute you can like remove a screen, literally. Also, increased attack speed, increased damage, increased fury regeneration. It's really important for the build. Now, let's look at the aspects. For the helmet, I am removing this because I just recently got the helmet here, which is a huge defensive. Like this is the biggest defensive I could get. If I can find a good helmet to throw this aspect on, which gives me increased armor for 4 seconds whenever I deal any form of damage, and we deal bleeding damage all the time. So this is completely like 100% of the time it will be at 50%. So whenever I could throw it on a good helmet, I will most likely remove some defensives from the tree and invest in more damage, more utility, you name it. So you just have to sort it out as you go along your way. So we move on to the chest. I already shown that it's a unique legendary aspect which dropped for me in the top of the map, up at what is this called, Court Dragon, where you fight a boss, you win the hub, and this becomes an area of level 30 mobs, level 30 elites. So I dropped this. I threw some max life in it because my initial thought was that I wanted to use also thorns damage in this build because we are so close to the enemies. We're also taking some hits, of course we are, and maybe some thorns damage, but it was too broad. It was like a master of none, a jack of all trades. So I removed everything with thorns again from the build, just except a weapon here, and I'm planning to throw some just more whirlwind bleed oriented things in the build. Next up, our hands, we throw in your crits with core skills. Increase our attack speed, so this is also a buff that's just going to be up completely all of the time. Affixes, crit chance, physical damage over time, rank of whirlwind, all the things that you want in this build. You want crit chance, to make you want crit damage, plus the whirlwind, physical damage. Also, which might come to a surprise for some people, you want a lot of intellect and willpower. Why do you want that as a barbarian? Intellect because it gives us all resistance, so it's not a bad stat, it's not a dead stat, it's actually a pretty decent stat. And willpower because it gives us resource generation, and that applies to all resource generation. That applies to whenever we hit with whirlwind, whenever we hit with our main spend out, whenever we use our cries. We want to keep the fury flowing, so that we don't just stop and cannot whirlwind anymore. As our chest legs, I'm thinking of maybe switching these. It's a really good defensive because we use our basic skill, Flay. It's not something we spam, but it's like against bosses, of course, we use it and to start whirlwinding, and maybe we use it 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds after that. It's just a quick 25% damage reduction. It's a huge defensive. For the boots, direct damage against bleeding enemies has a chance to stun them. That might, like on the get-go, doesn't seem very good. Also, we have movement speed on the boots. That is huge. But the aspect right now, it doesn't seem good. But when you pair it up with the stunning a bleeding enemy, deals 48% of their total bleeding amount to them as physical damage. So you basically like double dip because you hit so much with whirlwind. You are at some point going to stun them, and whenever you stun them, they just instantly take half of the amount of bleeds that you already put on the target. So it's a huge damage upgrade. We have an axe. We don't have barrier as much. The barriers is like the alternate health pool you get. So whenever it becomes transparent blue, I think you've seen it, you have a barrier up. So you don't have that as much with this build. You have it when you use iron skin and such. But I'm thinking of replacing this with something else. I haven't really decided yet. Maybe I'll figure it out. Once I figure it out, I'll probably just throw a comment or something. Also, this Thorns, while berserking, it was when I had the idea that it should also be a Thorns build, but again, we're out in Jack of all trades, Master of none, so I scrapped it. One thing I am really trying to get my hands on is there is a aspect where you could periodically, when you use your whirlwind, you will draw enemies in. So I'm really chasing that aspect a lot. This whirlwind leaves behind a dust devil that deal 211 damage to surrounding enemies. It's just a huge damage upgrade. Shout skills generate fury, huge fury regen. Killing an enemy with a core skill refunds fury costs. Again, we just want to keep the fury flowing. This one is interesting. Damaging enemies with leap, upheaval, or whirlwind has 71% chance to summon an ancient to perform the same skill. So this, I can actually show this really quick if we just go to somewhere. Yeah, you can see the clone comes right in, deals a lot of damage. Perfect. Let's get away. So, what are my plans going forward with this, and why barbarian? I was playing a sorcerer because sorcerer, it's my primary go-to. I love the range casting, but yeah, it was a nice class, definitely. But I heard everyone saying that barbarian was weak, and now people see like complaining about the druid, and I'm like the kind of hypocrite that's like, are they that weak? Or I have to try it out. I have to test it. To be fair, if what people say is true, and most of the time it is, but at this time with the barbarian, it was like they are pretty strong, pretty fucking strong. Yeah, they have it rough from level 1 to 10 probably, but it's like some classes have to have it rough early for to have a perfect balance, because a perfect balance is not perfectly balanced. Does that make sense? Perfectly balanced is not perfectly balanced. Um, but some classes, of course, are gonna have have a good early game. Except the necromancers. Necromancers are pretty strong. The ring that makes all the corpses explode in a chain it's pretty strong. It's gonna be nerfed to 100%. But recent barbarians, definitely not underpowered. You just have to like see the possibilities in it. Like when I saw Whirlwind, yeah, when you start spinning in level 3, 5 or something, you're gonna run out of fury instantly. But you have to see the possibility. Okay, what if I maybe got some fury cost reductions? What if I got some max fury, some fury regen? You have to like see the possibilities and just try figuring things out, because most of the time it's gonna work. Um, Unless it's PoE, because sometimes it's not gonna work. It's just completely fucked up by GGG. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this sort of guide, sort of thing. Um, I hope I'll see most of you in Diablo 4 launch. It's gonna be great. However, I have in the meantime gotten, once I used to play a lot of games, but I have got myself a girlfriend, and it's pretty downtime. Like the biggest source of downtime is girlfriends. So I'll have to accept the fact that I can't play 40 hours a day anymore. Anyway, have a great day, and I will see you around.